Welcome to Take Two with Freddy, the podcast where we talk about real life, second chances, and the power of rewriting your own story. I'm Freddy Freundlich, entrepreneur, mentor, and storyteller, and everything I share here comes straight from the heart. If I didn't walk it, I don't talk it. Each week, we'll spend about 15 to 20 minutes laughing, reflecting, and hopefully walking away a little more inspired than before. So, what's on my mind this week? Well, for those of you who know I live in Israel, it's kind of a no-brainer. The past few nights, we've been sleeping in bomb shelters and safe rooms, with air raid sirens, explosions, death and destruction. The real deal. In the middle of all this chaos, I found myself reflecting on how blessed I truly am. And I know this may sound crazy to you guys. There's real death and destruction happening out there as we speak. I have children and grandchildren scattered across the country. One of them lives not far from where a missile struck. Not once, but twice, and lives were lost there. And yet, even after a sleepless night, even while nursing back pain, almost for certain triggered by stress, I sat on my balcony yesterday morning looking out at the ocean, and I just kept thinking how blessed I am. I felt I'm so blessed. Believe me, folks, I'm not ignoring what's happening around me. I know, see, and I feel what's happening out there. But what about it is in my control? I can't control the rockets or the war, but I can choose how I respond to it. If you listened to last week's episode, you know we talked about control, the whole idea of control, what we can and what we can't do to control. And this is just a continuation of that very idea. You know, guys, I don't control the rockets. I don't control the news. I don't control the politics of it all. But I do control my attitude. And I do control my reaction. I choose what pair of eyeglasses I put on to look at my world. And that choice changes everything. And I just want to emphasize the word I just used, my world. Because we need to look inwards out. It's only this way we can make a difference. We can have a positive influence on the world. You know, I mentioned to you last time that we're not built to carry the weight of the world, of all 80 billion or 8 billion people on our shoulders. We're built for connection, for dealing with people around us. And that's where we need to make our focus. And we need to be able to deal with this, as I said, inwards out. You know, most of you guys listening aren't in a war zone right now, but you're all going through something, most of you at any rate. And it might be health issues, yours or a loved one's. It can be financial, business pressures, or it can just be the heaviness of everything that's happening in your life or in the world at large. And while your pain may not make the headlines, it's still real, really real. And in many ways, it might even feel even more painful than what I'm going through right now, because your pain always hits the hardest. No matter how bad someone else's struggle is, it's our pain that hurts most. This is natural. This is the way we're built. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. I've said this before. We can't control pretty much anything. But the one thing we can always control is how we see things. Let me give you an example. The back pain I mentioned that I'm going through right now, it's almost for sure stress related. I can't snap my fingers and make it disappear in an instant. But I can choose not to feed it with more anxiety. I can take the pain relievers, which I am very blessed to have access to. I can remind myself that pain is a message, not a sentence. And folks, just these two things are a great example of what I'm talking about. The back pain I'm going through is real. It doesn't matter what the source is, if it's through my head, through an injury, through whatever it is. The pain itself is real. I am feeling it. That is my fact, and I can't ignore that. But I do have choices. And I have, as one of the choices, whether or not to look at the pain, and it is pain, as a blessing. In other words, is there something here to be grateful for? And I see two things right off the bat. The first is that I live in a place where I do have good health care and I do have access to the medications I need. And the other thing is that I am aware that pain is a message. In other words, there's a message out there for me, and a message meant to make my quality of life better. So, yeah, we may not control that storm, but we do get to decide where we anchor ourselves. My anchor, ladies and gentlemen, is gratitude and faith. I choose to see through a lens which gives me strength, not despair. Now, up to now, I don't think I've said anything too out there, anything too controversial. But here's, as the saying goes, the rubber meets the road. Now, folks, I'm not here to give you answers. I'm here just to share what I've lived and my experiences and where I'm coming from. And I hope from that, something will resonate with you. One of the truths I've come to believe, really believe, is the reality of what people call the law of attraction. Now, I know that right now some of you are ready to say, okay, I'm out of here. You're thinking, okay, he's starting to sound a little too new agey for my liking, or the fairy dust is going to come about. But I'm not talking about magic spells. I'm talking about attention, focus, energy. These things are real. I've seen it again and again and again in my life. And I'm sure whether you realize it or not, you have too. When I find myself focusing on gratitude, it seems there's much more to be grateful for. When I focus on lack, unfortunately, I see more of that too. It's just like putting on that pair of glasses. And those glasses reflect back to you the energy you put out. Let me share with you guys a story that really changed me. Years ago, I found myself in a really rough place. I had just separated from my wife of over 25 years. My business was struggling, and I was not in a good place, to put it mildly. I was living at the time in a tiny apartment after moving out of a big family home, just a place to live till I got my bearings. And it was a pretty depressing existence during those days. One night, I needed to take out the trash. The trash. Nothing special. Something we all do all the time. And as I was carrying the bag out of my apartment down the street towards the dipsty dumpster there, I looked inside, or I looked rather at the bag, and it was one of those semi-clear bags. And I got to see what I was throwing out, or at least part of it. And I saw empty tuna cans, candy wrappers, steak wrappers, an empty bottle of wine. And just then it hit me. It just hit me out of nowhere. I guess it was that divine inspiration I've referred to. This wave of gratitude came over me. I thought, my God, these scraps, this stuff that I'm throwing away, this could be a feast for someone else. And I'm not talking about in the other part of the world, in the deepest, darkest parts of Africa. I'm talking right here in my city, even just down the block. You see, I'm not talking necessarily about people who are starving and will eat anything just to live another day. I'm talking about regular people who may be able to enjoy what I was throwing away, but they can only do it once a week, once a month, perhaps once or twice a year. Or I take it for granted. I have it wherever and whenever I want. And that moment flipped something inside of me. It was a complete paradigm shift. I can trace much of the peace, success, and clarity that I found since then over the past number of years back to that very moment. These days, when life throws me curveballs, and trust me, it still does, I find myself often going back to that moment. It becomes a kind of anchor memory for me. And no, life didn't suddenly become perfect. There was no fairy princess who came out of nowhere on her pumpkin carriage and started sprinkling glitter dust on me. I still was having rough days and rough nights. I still cried myself to sleep some nights. But that trash bag really changed me. And it kept reminding me that I have much more than I see. Funny enough, to this day, I don't mind taking the garbage. In fact, I often find myself glancing inside before tossing the bag, and it grounds me. Now, this isn't something I plan to do. This is not something I can say, oh, guys, you got to start doing it. It's going to change your life. What I am saying is there are divine messages around us all the time, and many of them are personalized for us. And things which seem so mundane, so stupid, are literally the magic that can change your life. So I invite you to think, what's your version of that trash bag moment? Is there something ordinary in your life that might actually be a reminder of the abundance you have in your life? Next time you're tempted to think life's a mess, your life's a mess, take out the trash and look again. You might be throwing away what someone else is praying for. Now, again, everybody has their own personal stuff, but I'm going to guarantee you right now, taking out the garbage will never, ever be the same for you. And let's be clear about one thing as I continue. This isn't about pretending that everything's okay, that I just have to walk around saying life is good, life is good, life is good. Okay? If you're feeling bad, you're feeling bad. Okay? I'm not here to tell you to just say to yourself, oh, it all feels great. I'm doing great. That's what I find is toxic positivity. It doesn't work just because you say it. You have to feel it. That garbage bag moment literally changed me. Ever since then, I've tried to make gratitude my default lens, even when life is hard. And trust me, life has been hard lately. But one of the things that I have found is there are certain triggers, both positive and negative, which I'm aware of. And again, it's very personal, and you need to find your positive triggers. I accidentally fell into this garbage bag deal where consciously or subconsciously, every time I take out the garbage, it does something for me. But I also discovered some positive triggers. And one of them I'd like to share with you. I have found that no matter where I am, what place I'm in, how bad the challenge I'm facing is. I have found that if I will go for a walk, not a power walk, just a good walk for at least 20 minutes outside in the fresh air, doesn't pretty much matter what the weather is. I don't remember a time that I've returned from that walk not feeling any better. Sometimes a lot better. Sometimes I figure out what I need to do next, but I've always come back feeling better. So that is something that's in my control. I may not be able to control what has happened to me. I may not be able to control, as I said, the storm, but I can control how and when I anger myself. Just last night, this is a great example. I wanted to go for a simple walk and clear my head and get some air. But these days, nothing is simple. We live under constant alert, and I can't go pretty much more than 10 minutes from my home because that's the maximum notice we get when a bombardment is on the way. Sometimes we get as little as a minute and a half notice, and that's the reality we're in. But I needed to get out, so I decided to take the walk and stay close to home. And it was a really good walk. Wow, did it do me a lot of good. And then I got home. Finally, I got home, all was good. Came home, started doing my stuff before I go to bed. And I was about to get into the shower when, you guessed it, that alert came. And several minutes later, the sirens started wailing again. And there went the shower for that night because I spent the night in our safe room. Now, this is all real. I'm not in denial. And I don't believe I've attracted what's going on into my life. But I do get to ask, and I do ask, what now? What next? That's what my power is. And that's a heck of a power. Now, I'm in this safe room. I could have sat there staring at the wall in fear. I could have been like those deer who are stuck in the headlights. I could have started scrolling down my phone, the news feed, and feeling more depressed. Or I could have started worrying about my kids and grandkids and if they're okay and this and that. Or I could say, which thank God I did, it is what it is, and I'm going to make a different choice. Now, I also have several choices now. I could journal, I could pray, I could read a book, I could watch that movie I've been meaning to see forever, I could work on a new business idea. That's real power. That's not denial, it's focus. I know I use these analogies and I apologize, but if it fits, it fits. So why not use it? Again, I have no choice once that storm starts. I don't know when it's going to stop, but I get to choose at that point whether I build a shelter or just get soaked. So let me wrap this up by saying this. It's rarely the big breakthroughs that change our lives. It's the quiet moments. It's a glance in the trash, a different lens on the same view. Sometimes you just have to stop and say, I've been doing the same thing 1,000 times the exact same way. What if I do it just a little differently today? And it can be the most mundane thing. A small idea that came to my mind. Unless you're already that kind of person, challenge yourself that tomorrow morning, when you leave the house, the first stranger, not friend, not neighbor, the first stranger you run into wherever and ever, all you say to that person is good morning. Okay? If you're already doing it, then you got to find something else. But if you've never done that before, then just do that. It's these small shifts. This is where the magic happens. And I'm not going to tell you because you do this, there's going to be any great breakthrough in your life. But I guarantee you this, if you do it, you'll feel differently. And we have no idea where it will end. Guys, thank you once again for spending this time with me on Take Two with Freddy. If something resonated with you, if you found even a breath of clarity, that's a win. Every week, I'll be here sharing thoughts, stories, and lessons I've earned the right to share. And if I ever get it wrong, call me out. I'm still learning too. By the way, that's what the comments are for below. If this episode spoke to you, please share it, like it, and of course, subscribe. Let someone else know they've got another shot too. Until next time, be good to yourself. You've got so much more in you than you could ever imagine. See you next week.